book, The Way Will Be, to talk a little bit about the transition to the Obama administration and to take questions from you. So we hope that you will have some questions for him. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Zogby's wife, Kathleen, who's with us, and his son, Jeremy, who's with us. Without further delay, I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Zogby. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And what a wonderful opportunity this is, what a wonderful opportunity it is to visit this absolutely lovely city. And I'm not just saying that. We were here last year, Kathy and I were here to visit Jeremy for only about 3 or 4 hours. We were on our way actually to London. And we vowed that we had to come back, and now we're spending 8 days here and loving really every minute of it. Thank you, Saul. Thank you, staff, for putting this together. I promise you, I've made a solemn vow that I will not tell any jokes, because generally, even people who have English as their first language really never laugh at my jokes anyway. So I'm not even going to bother with that risk. I want to do 2 things. It'll be about 20 minutes or so. About 10 minutes, I want to talk about my book, The Way Will Be, some of the themes that I've discovered about the American people and some of the significant changes that I see both in the American dream and in terms of the American character that I think have been dramatically changing in the last year. And then secondly, if you've been paying attention, we have a new president in the United States. And so we're approaching 100 days, and I thought I would offer some commentary on Barack Obama. But first of all, The Way Will Be. It's subtitled The Zogby Report on the transformation of the American dream. And basically, it is a very optimistic book. In fact, those who have liked it very much in terms of the reviewers appreciate the optimism, and 1 or 2 of the negative reviews have even charged me with being an optimist. And there are worse things that can happen in your life. But I can tell you that when I first started to conceive writing this book, I was actually going to write a much different book. A very pessimistic one, and a story actually about how tens of millions of Americans were giving up on the American dream, giving up on that notion that they could improve themselves financially, who felt that that part of their lives was all over, and who felt that there was very little hope for them to produce anything meaningful financially in their lives. And so I started actually researching a lot of these themes in earnest a little over 20 years ago. And one of the things that I discovered was that there was a growing number of Americans who were working at jobs that paid less than their previous jobs. That in fact, when I first started in looking at this in 1987, 14% of Americans were saying, I work at a job that pays less than a previous job. But what they were also telling me was that they hoped that they would have the opportunity to get back on track and get into a future job that would return them to where they were. And so these were people who had been making more money in a previous job, a manufacturing job of some sort, or a government job, a job in the older economy, and who still had their homes and mortgages and living expenses. And in fact, some of them, working for less, were telling us, I'm giving up meals 24 hours at a time because I don't want to give up my home. I don't want to give up my car. I don't want to give up the appearance of my children living in the middle class and give up my friends because I hope someday to get back to where I was financially. And so as I polled during the 1990s and I saw some anger developing, I also saw the numbers of Americans who work at a job that pays less growing 14% to 15, 16, 17. By the late 1990s, 19% of American adults saying, we work at a job that pays less. And so it was in the late 1990s that I decided, well, if there is an anger, if the number of these people is growing, what's happening to the American dream that you can improve yourself financially? Is it dying? And so we started asking at Zogby International a whole series of questions in depth about the American dream and the future of the American dream. And basically, what people were telling us is, oh, no, 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 no. The American dream is alive and well, and I believe in it. So that begged the question, okay, what is the American dream? What does the American dream mean to you? And that's when the nucleus of what would become this book developed. What I learned is that there were two co-equal groups. About 1 in 3 Americans, regardless of their economic position, financial position, said the American dream is the traditional American dream. Rags to riches, becoming the CEO of my company, owning a home in the suburbs, improving myself financially. I call that group the traditional materialists, because that's how they defined the American dream, and that was a tradition. But on the other hand, just as large, 1/3 of the American people said, no, that's not the American dream. The American dream is not about attaining material goods or my financial position. In reality, the American dream is much more about leading a genuine life, about something in my life, doing something that is fulfilling to me, something that is larger than myself, that gives me both authenticity and a genuine sense of spiritual accomplishment. And I call these people the secular spiritualists. Secular in the sense that it had nothing to do with religion. America is already a pretty religious country. It had a lot more to do with a sense of spiritual well-being, internal well-being, a sense of feeling fulfilled. And so, as I proceeded to poll all of these questions, I found into the new millennium that the numbers of Americans who said, I work at a job that pays less than a previous job, continued to grow. So by the time I finished writing the book in late 2007, it was now 27% of American adults saying they work at a job that pays less. It's a lot of people. But when I asked about the American dream, 3 out of 4 of all Americans said, oh yeah, no, I believe in the American dream. But the secular spiritualists were now 42%. And the traditional materialists were 27%. And that's where I began to identify that there actually was a transformation in the American dream. And so now the new American dream has less to do with maxing out my credit card, has less to do with the size of the home that I own or the quality of the car that I drive. It has less to do with the old notion, and I hope this translates well, he who dies with the most toys wins. And it has a whole lot more to do with what can I do with my life on this earth that is larger than myself, that gives me a sense that I'm doing something for my community, I'm doing something for my world, that my existence on this earth mattered more than materialism. So that's what I tried to pursue. And as I wrote the book and continued my research, what I found was that there is indeed a transformation in the American dream.